They've done it again. A few months ago, the Florida Maquis made a series of videos talking about how Dorsey, Zuckerberg, Wasicki, the people in charge of social media out in California, they don't have a basic understanding of psychology or sociology. And when you look into Zuckerberg and Dorsey's history, they didn't go to college. They didn't bother taking those pesky little courses, those prereqs that you have to get out of the way. And now it's coming back to bite them. In today's video, I'm going to show you proof of this. They've made another decision that makes it abundantly clear they are myopic. And this social media censorship thing is actually going to end up being a good thing. I'm sure some are saying, Florida Maquis, what are you talking about? How can censorship be good? In psychology, there is a term called external locus of identity. It's very unhealthy, and it's the very thing that social media encourages in those with low self-esteem. But social media doesn't account for those who don't have an external locus of identity. Social media doesn't account for those who have a level of self-esteem that they ascribe to something else other than what people think of them. Now, for all of their preaching about their AI and about what they know and about how they want to make the world a better place, it's clear they're faking it. They have just committed one of the biggest fails ever. Now, what am I talking about? What's the details? Okay. YouTube has gotten rid of the dislike button, the dislike little thumbs down thing where you go and you express your displeasure at somebody's video, whether it's the maker of the video or the content of the video. You have the ability to express yourself on their platform, and they're taking this away. Now, you can still go and click the down thumb, but the totals won't show up. Now, you see, this is the key. Now, here are the details. YouTube's removal of its dislike counter, not the button, but the counter, is among its most tone-deaf moves ever. But it's not really surprising, as after countless controversies, it's become clear the platform prioritizes ad revenue and hiding public dissent. They're partially right here, but they miss something. People want to feel like their opinions matter. People want to feel like they're important and that they have a say. That's what this is really about. What this is going to cause is more people to go dislike things, because having been a channel operator for 5 years, I think I can speak to this. Most people hitting the dislike button don't care what other people think of the video or how many dislikes. They're trying to send a message to the creator. They care about making people feel bad who they disagree with. And the reality is that that's still going to be the case. YouTube's recent decision to remove dislike counts on all its videos seems to be yet another indicator that critique, discussion, and feedback are slowly becoming things of the past, all to appease those who require complete conformity and get triggered into a hysterical frenzy anytime someone disagrees with their opinion, rejects their narrative, or points out flaws in their thinking. The fact that people could freely express their dissent has apparently been bothering YouTube for a while now. They first tested the removal of the count earlier this year, but now they've made their final decision. The removal will be done gradually as dislike counts will start disappearing from under videos. The button will still be there, and there will still be a thumbs up count too, but the public won't be able to see the amount of dislikes. Creators, on the other hand, will still be allowed to see that information should they choose to. Now, cursory inspection of such a thing would make you believe, well, man, that's going to make people believe they're doing a good job when they're not really doing a good job. That's not going to be the case. And I've brought up my own page to prove this. My most watched videos at the Florida Maquis channel have some of the lowest like to dislike ratios. And you can go check this out for yourself. The first one, the 1 million view video, the only one I have, has about a 3-to-1 ratio, which is incredibly low. My average video runs about anywhere from 25 to 50 to 1 like to dislike. And if I do a really good video people like, it's sometimes 70 to 1. The one next to it is almost 1 to 1. This Antarctica video here, the number one Antarctica video that I have, is, let's see here, what was it? It's 9 to 1. Now that's very, very low. Now, this is what it boils down to. This Stuart Smalley way of thinking. Everything YouTube teaches a new channel creator is about pandering. It's about making a video, then going down to the comments, assessing what people like or dislike about it, and then changing your direction accordingly to get more subscribers or more comments or more likes. What about the people out there that are just going to do their content who don't care? What about those of us who go out there, we know who we are, we know what we have to say, we know what we believe, and people can either like it or they can not like it. But I'm going to be back tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that, and it really doesn't matter. I don't make my content based on what's in the comment section. I don't adjust my direction based on likes or dislikes. But you see, that is what they teach. They don't teach people to think, they teach people to feel. And this shows they have no understanding of psychology, because that kind of works for kids, for the simple-minded. Just be your authentic self, because there's nothing sexier or more beautiful than that. And those of you who know about YouTube know that when you can go to a channel and you know what you're going to get every day, this year, next year, the year after that, that's a lot more attractive than somebody who panders. Because when you are your authentic self, your light and magnetism will reach others far and wide. YouTube doesn't get this. YouTube doesn't get this, because if that were the case, what they would say would be, make videos, make them on a daily or weekly basis, and you just do you, and you be you, and you ignore the comments, and you ignore the likes and dislikes, and it doesn't matter. You just be you. That's what they would be saying. But that's not what they're saying, is it? They're saying now that we're going to not show people likes or dislikes, a ratio of the two. We're going to show you the number of people who agree with you, and then the others, well, I mean, if you want to look at that, I guess. Really? It's called pandering. They teach people to pander. This is how they teach YouTubers to grow their channels. I've never subscribed to it. It's probably why my channel has hit about 130,000 and staying right about there. I'm fine with that. I know the mission that I'm on. I know what I want to say. I know what I believe. That's why this platform really pisses people off. We talked about this woman before, Victoria Treese here in Florida. She was a volunteer at a local elementary school. Why was she able to do that and pay her bills? She had created an OnlyFans account. Nobody knew about it. She didn't tell anybody about it in real life. But somebody looked at something and figured out something and took some pictures. You see, she was paying her bills. And she was taking care of her kids. And she had the life she wanted. She didn't care what anybody else thought. She didn't care what anybody else thought. And boy, I tell you what, these days, that's like just unheard of. It's probably why I don't like Twitter, because that's all Twitter is. A bunch of emotional people making 150 character blurbs and then a whole bunch of other emotional people reacting to it. And that's really why they don't like Ron DeSantis. Really, really why. I can listen to Ron DeSantis today, and I can go to his book that he wrote 10 or 11 years ago, and there is no wavering. There is no change. The man is steadfast in what he believes. This man is not a politician. He's a governor. He's a leader. He's not going to change his mind or change his opinion, and I defy you to find anything that he's changed in the last 10 years about his beliefs about freedom and liberty and how we should be governing this country constitutionally. This is kind of what it's really about, though. The most disliked video was YouTube's own Rewind in 2018 after the big adpocalypse and all the conservative channels got demonetized and all this. And now the most disliked are, of course, the current occupier of the West Wing. His are the most disliked. See, they're calling it bullying when people are just being authentic. Some people have said, Florida Maquis, you seem kind of obsessed with the Patriot Nurse. Been watching her for 11 years. Literally since she started. She's authentic. I don't agree with everything. I'm sure there's things I've said on my channel she doesn't agree with, but we're both authentic. We are who we are. And to me, that's far more important than agreeing with somebody all the time. Same with Gen Vets for Truth. Exact same thing. Be your authentic self. Some may like it, some may not. Don't let it change your direction. Don't let it change anything about you. And they don't get this. I know that seems like, to a lot of people listening to me, simple advice. But it comes with age. And these people are not old people. They're going to learn a lesson about how psychology changes from when times are good to when times are bad. Because there's a huge portion of our population who subscribes to the narrative wrong is wrong, even if everyone is doing it. Right is right, even if no one is doing it. Social media masters could not conceive of this. Wrong and right, they're all subjective. All based on the whims of what's happening at the moment. Notice prior to 2020, there are certain flags they didn't have a problem with. There were certain statues they didn't have a problem with. Certain words in the English language they didn't have a problem with prior to 2020. But now after 2020, there's all sorts of problems. And this is what I'll leave with. Advice to young men, if there are any in my audience. A man must know when to retreat from a woman, but a wise man knows that sometimes he must stand and face her. There are times when you need to be you, regardless of what the consequences might be. Don't break your promises and don't be a jerk, not if you have a way to do something better and be kinder about it. But don't be a pushover. Everyone, especially women, has an invisible sign hanging from their neck saying, "Make me feel important." Never forget this. It applies across the board. It really does. You make somebody feel important. You make somebody feel like they matter. You're not going to be subject to the whims because of social media. You're never going to scratch your head. Well, gosh, what would make that person feel important? Or what about this other person? You know, when you continually are consulting the prevailing winds, so to speak, you are going to not be anybody people want to be around. When you are your authentic self, your light and magnetism will reach others far and wide. And I'll leave it here with the YouTube thing. And this is my counsel to anyone who has maybe made the decision that they want to try to be a YouTuber. Put up content on a regular basis, as often as is possible. Speak your mind. Organize your thoughts. And do not consult the comments section for your direction. Do not consult the comments section for your direction, because there are people out there who are very good at trying to manipulate people in the comments section. There are people who have said, Florida Maquis, why do you aim a camera at a computer screen? First year of my channel, that's literally all everybody talked about. That's all they were focused on. I took advantage of it because they would come back again and again and again and whine and whine and whine and whine and whine. But they were running my numbers up. And they're running my engagement, my CPM and my RPM into the stratosphere. They didn't realize they were doing it. So I just kept making sure they knew I was doing it. Creak the camera a little bit, you know. Be a little bit annoying. But still have another message. Have a real focus on what I wanted to share. And they just pulled their hair out. But they kept coming back over and over again, especially this one. The map videos. 7,000 likes, 5,900 dislikes. And people just arguing about the lines on the screen and the colors of the states and what red, orange, and green means. And it's some people took issue that I had made Virginia green. I think 3 years ago, based on recent events, we can maybe change that. Now, given this was July of 2018, this was all way before the whole 2020 sniffles thing. This is a completely different tack. Basically, the idea is this, that if governments financially would collapse and it became a money issue, the first thing that they would do is they would start shutting down prisons because they're too big, they're too expensive. And they'd start releasing people. And we're seeing this now, to some extent. And the last place you want to be is a state out in the middle who has a very, very, very tiny budget, but might have some very large prisons. Because these guys are professional manipulators. They'll come out, they'll weasel their way into the population, and they'll tell you whatever you want to hear to get into your group, and then they'll stab you in the back the first chance they get. And then all of your stash of weapons and ammunition and food is now going to be in the hand of convicted felons. And people think they can identify them. They can't. Especially during a shit hits the fan situation. That'll never happen. These guys are way too good. It's what they do. They just take turns manipulating each other on the inside. And they get really good at it. And they also get, in shape and strong. And so people are very visually driven these days. So here comes this, person saying all the right things and looking strong and all this kind of thing. And, people too easily trust. They too easily trust. But that's why you have to make decisions about people over long periods of time, not based on 150 character tweets, not based on Facebook posts. And this is their Achilles. Every time they pull one of these censorship games, they reveal something about themselves. And I'll leave it there. God bless. Have a great weekend. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.